where you want it.
Bay 12, please.
Hello there, Transformers fans, and welcome back to another Transformers video review. Today is the Transformers Legacy Voyager class Armada Starscream, which is the first of the new Armada figures. Very exciting, very exciting. The Unicron trilogy, more accurately named the Unicron duology, is, while it's not my favorite universe in Transformers, it does still have a special place in my heart, and Armada did some really cool things and had a lot of cool characters and concepts. First most, establishing Minicons as a faction, and then establishing Minicons as a common term of phrase for bots that are smaller, much smaller than average. And this is a really cool start to getting back to some nice modern updates to some Armada figures. We've had a few over the years. In 2009 in Universe, we got an updated Armada Hotshot, which was all right. It was somewhat better than the original figure in terms of articulation, but other than that, it wasn't a super great update, not like the upcoming Armada Hotshot in Transformers Legacy Evolution coming out in 2023. The original Starscream had a good figure, and he got an update in the 30th anniversary line of Transformers in 2014, I think the year was. And it was cool, but it also had some issues, scaling being one of them. He was just way too small, and really that was actually my biggest issue with that figure, was he was just way too small. And then, of course, we got an updated Armada Megatron in Combiner Wars, which was just a repaint of the Combiner Wars release of G1 Megatron. It was all right. It wasn't great. Not very show accurate. I mean, the most show accurate part of him was his head and the color scheme of the figure, and that was really about it. That was kind of the only resemblance to Armada Megatron. So fingers crossed, we have a nice updated Armada Megatron coming in the future as well. I think it's safe to say we'll probably get an Armada Optimus, considering he's at the center of the Legacy Evolutions artwork coming out soon. I speculate that he's probably gonna be next year being 2023. I speculate he's going to be next year's Commander class. He's the most likely candidate for Commander class, especially with the way Commander classes have been released in the past few years. I just kind of see Armada Optimus being our Commander class for next year. Mark my words. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I'm 90% sure he's going to be the Commander class. I'm pretty positive about it. So anyway, here's Starscream. He's looking awesome. They picked a really cool character to start with, because Armada Starscream was very different from Starscream typically depicted up to that point. I mean, really, there was only one other depiction of Starscream, which was Generation 1 Starscream. Got some awesome artwork there on the side. Awesome Jetwork artwork on the front. Legacy artwork on that side. Toy photos on the back. That's it for the box. While he did butt heads a little bit with Megatron in the Armada cartoon, he didn't really scheme like Starscream did to try and take control of the Decepticons like he had in the past. That was more sideways and thrust in this series, which was kind of interesting. He had a much more honorable role, kind of like Beast Wars Dinobot, but not quite as to the extreme of honor and switching sides permanently to the Maximals like Dinobot did. There was a point in Armada where Starscream did defect temporarily, but it was very temporary. So, there you go. So here he is. He's looking very nice. Look at that awesome wingspan there. I know some people have been complaining that his wings don't transform into swords. I'm glad they don't, because that was a problem with the original toy, because the swords kept going missing. And by swords, I mean the sword kept going missing. That was kind of an issue. They kind of somewhat solved this a little bit with some middle ground in the 30th anniversary Starscream, because they gave him little Energon swords that folded up and tucked under on the underside of the wing. That was kind of cool. Those went missing for a lot of people as well, for some reason. I kind of like that they made it a separate accessory this time. It would have been cool if it still folded up and you know, just pegged under the wing, because you can peg it under, damn it. Because you can peg it under the wing like so, but then it just, you know, sticks out. So it would have been cool if it still telescoped down and actually became a part of the bottom of the wing, and we got 2 of those. I think that still would have been cool. But this is still nice. That way we still have the whole wing, but we also have the wing sword. My only other complaint about this is it should have just been cast in bright red plastic. That's it. If they were going to do this, it should have been in red plastic instead of gray plastic. That's really my main complaint about this, is the color. So, and of course he can wield that. And of course he can wield that in his hand here. And it's actually at a pretty decent length. It's not too bad looking, not too short, I don't think. And then we get to the other sword accessory, which, as excited as I was for this, the more I look at it, the smaller it feels. And I know a lot of people have commented about the size of the Starsaber here. As cool as it was, and I love the unique mold they went with here, I feel like it would have been just a bit better had they just repainted the pack-in Darksaber accessory that came with the Earthrise Nemesis Prime figure. Because this is an almost perfect recreation of the Armada Darksaber that Nemesis Prime wields in Armada when he appears. And this is a bit more accurate of a size the Starsaber should be. I mean, the hilt doesn't need to be near as long, but it should be about this size in his hand. So it's weird that this is so very small, as cool as it is. And I like that it's molded, again, to the actual Minicon toys all in one piece. I do like that aspect. I think that's neat, but it needs to be twice the size of this, Hasbro. What were y'all thinking here? Because it's not even like some people have opinions like, oh no, that's perfect. You know, it should be that big for Starscream. Everyone's saying the same thing. This is way too small. This is way too small. Now, I know upgrade kits. There's bound to be upgrades versions of this accessory coming at some point. Sure, yeah, why not? But couldn't we have just skipped the middleman and just had it the right size to begin with? I don't know. I feel like I'm coming off a little too aggressive. So I've said what I needed to say about this. It's still cool, just needed to be at least twice the size, and it would have been fine, I think. Now, I have seen some cool images where people have had this in the hand of the 30th Starscream, and it looks better in his hand. But granted, that's a figure that's much smaller than this one, so sure, cool. But if we're going to make accessories for a specific character, they should be sized to that character, not to a previously released toy. Now, I'm sure y'all didn't plan on that, but at the same time, yeah, I don't know what happened. Maybe the mold shrank by accident, and that's why they came out so small from the factory. Who knows? Maybe that was by design, at which point, shame on you. Bad design. Should have been bigger. So, yeah. All right, we can talk about that a lot, but we don't need to. The figure of Starscream himself is dang near perfect. And I say dang near because he has 0 Minicom ports. That is my one and only complaint about the figure itself. He has no Minicom ports. You can't put Swindle on him at all. I've seen some people make some interesting upgrades into add Minicon ports to Starscream, but their whole thing was having their Minicons. Even if you're not going to release the Minicons to go with it, it should have the Minicon ports. Armada Hotshot, the upcoming Legacy Evolution figure, does have its Minicon port. So if you have a Jolt lying around, or you're ordering a Jolt in preparation for this because we're not getting Minicons with figures for some reason, at least you can put Jolt on Hotshot, but you can't put Swindle on Starscream, unfortunately, because he has no Minicon port. So hopefully there's some upgrade coming out for that soon, because figure-wise, my 2 biggest complaints for this release are this is tiny and no Minicom ports. Other than that, it's really great. Even the transformation is almost just like the original toy, plus a little bit better. And that's nice. His scaling is so much better than the original toy, because the original toy was huge in comparison to this. The original toy was too big. The 30th anniversary was too small. This one is just right. It's right in the middle. He looks good next to a lot of the original Armada figures. And I'm so happy they did this figure like this. He looks great. Now, in terms of articulation, his head is on a ball joint. Fully articulated shoulders. Of course, the wings do get in the way of that a little bit, but you can theoretically do a full 360 if you had the clearance from the wings not being in the way. The wings also articulate, as you can see. Upper bicep, double jointed elbows, wrists, no swivel. They can go forward and back, but that's mostly due to transformation, because when you transform it, you open that panel and fold it in. Waist, hips, upper thigh, single jointed knees, forward and back on the foot, side to side with the ankles, and untab this whole section right here, and you can raise up his null laser cannons, and then you can fold that back down. There we go. And then, of course, you can also flip forward his null laser cannons from the show, which is also very cool. Paint app-wise, I do wish his cannons had a little bit more paint. At least have the barrel parts black like they're supposed to be. Other than that, I think it looks all right. Transformation is very similar to other versions of the Armada Starscream character design that has made it across different molds. We're going to go ahead and untab that back section that we tabbed in a second ago, untab the cockpit and bring it up, flare out the little fins there on the front. That was another cool part of his design that I liked. Open up those panels there. We're going to fold in the fists. Open up that panel there, fold in the fist. Here we go. Next up, here on the back side of the arm, we're going to pull these over to the side all the way. And then we're going to leave the arms alone for now, because I like to kind of like put the arms in last. It just makes things, I think, a little bit easier. Next, we're going to take the head here. We're going to push it down on that ball joint, so just the top is peeking out. That's part of the character design. That's not some weird inaccuracy that they got wrong with the toy. It's how he looked in the show too, so it's fine this time. The torso is going to peg into the bottom of this section right here. Next up with the legs, we got to open these rear panels here, so fold in those heels, open up those panels, which I always have a hard time getting those open. In fact, usually I have to use the sword to kind of pull them out, which is kind of interesting. I feel like you shouldn't have to do that, but it is something you have to do. Next, we're going to take the legs here. We're going to fold them to the side. Actually, before we tab that torso in, torso into this back piece, let's bring it back down so we can finish with the legs first. So fold those legs in, fold those legs in. The tip of the foot is going to go into this top part, or rear hollow bits in the top part of the chest. And then those gap fillers and behind the legs, those are going to collapse together into this little midsection here. Then you can tab in the waist or lower part of the torso into that back section there. Cut that, Bob. Okay. Come up to the front here. We're going to rotate those wings around. We're going to connect the upper part of the shoulder in that gap in the wing section. So do that on both sides. Just kind of line them up, rotate them into each other is the easiest way to do it. That way that is all one piece. Next up, we come over here to the arms on that double hinge. We're going to fold that back, fold those arms up, fold that back, fold those arms up. And there you have Starscream in his jet mode. And he doesn't even, what's cool about his unique jet design is he doesn't really suffer from robot under a jet syndrome, because there's really no visible robot bits hanging out from under him. And that's mostly just due to the character design itself. Armada had a lot of unique character designs since they didn't really base any of the vehicles off of any real life vehicles. They got really creative with these Earth modes to suit the character design versus trying to turn a Transformer character into an existing vehicle, it definitely helped creatively and with those alt modes, I think. Now, of course, you can still flip forward those cannons while he's in jet mode, and of course, while he's in jet mode, no mini-com ports. There's no way to attach Swindle to this guy as is on release, which is a shame. You can store his swords on it, but it looks kind of wonky in jet mode, so that's pretty much it for Starscream. Not my favorite characterization of Starscream, but definitely one of my favorite overall character designs for Starscream. What do you think of Armada? Let us know in the comments. Was it a show you really enjoyed? Was it a show you grew up with? And do you think it stands the test of time? How does it hold up? I think it holds up all right. In my opinion, it holds up the best out of the Unicron trilogy, or rather duology, because I didn't mention this earlier when I said that. Cybertron is not a sequel to Energon. Don't at me in the comments. You're wrong. It's only a sequel on paper. Continuity-wise, it has absolutely nothing to do with Armada and Energon. When it was first made in Japan, it was not made as a sequel. It was made as its own standalone series. It was only imported in America as a sequel because on paper, Takara and Hasbro had a contract to do 3 series together. That is the only reason why it's labeled as a sequel and why it's called a Unicron trilogy when it has absolutely nothing to do with the previous series. When they go to Earth at the beginning of Cybertron, it is for the first time. Optimus and crew have never been to Earth before prior to that point in that timeline. Neither have any of the Autobots or Decepticons ever interacted with humanity at that point, considering they had no awareness of their existence when they were working hand in hand together in Energon. So just look at the continuity, watch the shows, look at the story layout, and you'll see, yeah, these puzzle pieces don't add up. This is not a sequel. It's not. It's fun to call it one, sure, kind of, because it has some similar carryover characters by name only, and a lot of carryover voice actors, but other than that, it's not a sequel, guys. I'm sorry if the Unicron trilogy is your favorite thing, if you've built your whole Transformers fan love on the fact that there is a Unicron trilogy. I'm sorry to break that realization for you, but I'm tired of that misinformation being spread across the internet. It is not a sequel. It's not. It's not a sequel. And while we're at it, Bumblebee is not a prequel to the Bayverse. I don't know why people are still confused by this. It's very simple. It is not in the Bayverse. It doesn't fit in the timeline. The only similarity aesthetic-wise between the two is Bumblebee's face, and even that's very different if you hold it side by side. So I'm sorry, I'm just ruining childhoods here, I think, at this point, so please forgive me. Stay tuned for more Transformer reviews. Stay tuned for upcoming Armada reviews. I can't wait for more modern Armada updates. Again, it's not my favorite series. It's not my favorite universe. But between the two, it's way better than Energon by a long shot. Energon had a lot of cool designs. It had a lot of cool characters. And it had a lot of cool toys. Toys should be at the top of that list. That's actually the best part of that list. Toys, then designs, then characters, I think. But story-wise, oh my gosh, the Energon show is a mess. It is bad. It is the best examples of the worst written Transformer series, I would say. But Armada wasn't too bad. Armada was one of those series where it started out pretty cool and just continued to get better as the series progressed. And it came full circle with a lot of things, which was nice too. So Armada wasn't bad. I did dig Armada. Cybertron's pretty decent overall too, but it suffers from some of the same things that Energon suffers for, and just not to the extreme that Energon suffers for it. Plus, I'm not crazy about the animation style, but that's just me. So, yeah, it is what it is. Stay tuned for other Transformer reviews. Stay tuned for other Bay 12 reviews. We do a wide variety of content here on Bay 12. And check out our live sales on our YouTube channel. And in case you're local or in town, visit our physical location inside the shops at Willow Bend Mall in Plano, Texas, inside Order 66 Multiverse. We'll see you guys later. We'll see you another time. And as always, transform and roll out.
it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.